Hi everybody, Matthew Turnage here. I know I haven't posted much on the channel lately. It's been a situation where there's just been work projects and personal situations going on that have just taken up a lot of time and energy for me. So a special thank you to all my subscribers who've continued to support the channel. I really appreciate it and hope to have a bit more regular content for you going forward. I want to talk today a bit about this book, The McCartney Legacy. I had just gotten it in when I did my previous video, and I haven't had a chance to read as much as I'd hoped by now. I did get to read the first few chapters over Christmas and then just the last day or so. Picking it up again, getting into the period now where Paul is writing and making plans for the recording of Ram. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the beginning of the book and the McCartney album and my impressions of it so far. I have to say, this book is everything I had hoped it would be, everything I ever wanted from a McCartney biography. It is incredibly detailed. It begins, that's something I was very curious about, was how it would begin. And it begins in 1969 with Paul in Scotland, following John's announcement that he was leaving the Beatles. And I thought it was a very interesting place to begin the book. Now, to give you the full context, though, of the beginning of Paul's solo career, which overlaps so much and is influenced so much by the end of the Beatles, they do sort of backtrack from there and cover the final year or so of the Beatles, at least the major events leading up to the breakup and how they impact Paul. And also then they also, at a later point, flash back to give you an overview of the history of Paul's relationship with Linda, which of course is very important. And because I'm such a fan of the later period of the Beatles, and particularly the album Abbey Road, I've read a lot of books and things about that period. So I was curious how it became clear that that's how they were treating it, that they were flashing back and covering all that. I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of information here that I've read a lot about already. And I have to say, they did a great job of telling that information, which really needed to be included in order to make this book stand alone as a complete work with the context necessary. But for someone like me who knew a lot about it, they still told it in a way that kept me engaged and interested. I didn't get bored thinking, oh, I know all this stuff and wanted to flip ahead. No, it was well told and again, engagingly told and really kept my attention. So I was very pleased with that. As we get into the recording of the McCartney album, that's getting into information that I don't have as many books on. And so from that point on, I really was enjoying it. Particularly, and I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the way it's done, because I really enjoy the way it's done. We get these sections here talking about each recording session, and then we get the detail and the analysis, and a lot of great quotes from people who were involved in the sessions. This particular session, just to give you a sample of the flavor of it, I thought I'd read just a little bit from. This is recording session for Sunday, February 15th, 1970, EMI Studios, Studio 2 in London, and recording Maybe I'm Amazed. And after kind of giving you the details of the recording, then we've got this quote from Allan Parsons, who was a assistant engineer at that session, which I don't know if I'd realized that before. But this is a quote from Allan Parsons. He played every single instrument, did all the vocals with one small contribution from Linda, but it was a song, Maybe I'm Amazed. He did the whole thing, start to finish, every instrument, bass, drums, guitars, keyboards, everything in a day. And I remember being so impressed with that. So I love that quote from Allan Parsons. It's great to hear what someone else who's a musician, who's skill I admire, hear their reaction to seeing Paul in this environment and producing this sort of work. I think it's great. And also what I love about the book is they're passionate about Paul McCartney's music. That's why they wanted to write the book. So the book is more than just sort of giving you a history of Paul's life and Paul's art and his work, but talking about the art itself, the music itself. And just for an example, a bit of what this is how they begin talking about Maybe I'm Amazed. Within those 8 tracks, Paul's arrangement strategies are ingenious. Consider his painterly use of the organ. It first appears supporting the sustained A major chord at the end of the introduction, and though it is subtle, it magnifies the drama of that pause before the vocal begins. It then slips into the background until the second of the song's 3 instrumental breaks, itself an unusual touch for McCartney, when it returns in full force. So I think they're very insightful in their analysis of the tracks, and I do love how they do get into an analysis. It's not overly technical. So now I'm somebody who has a modicum of musical training. For someone who has no musical training, I don't think you'd be overwhelmed by they're not technical to the point where it would drive you to distraction, I think, if you don't really have much knowledge of music or music theory. But it's very well done. It's like I said, it's very insightful. You can tell these are people who have really listened to the music and have thought about the way Paul's put things together and the instrumentation he uses. So it's incredibly well done, and I cannot recommend this book to you enough. It's just a staggering amount of information, and it is extremely well told. Again, it's everything I ever wanted in a McCartney book, and I can't wait to continue reading through it. I'm keeping this one short and to the point, but if people would like me as I go through, I'm thought about, well, maybe I'll, when I get through with the Ram section, maybe I'll talk about what they said about Ram and then wildlife and so forth. And so if that's something you're interested in, is on down the line, let me know in the comments. I may or may not follow up on it, but I did want to at least get this video out to say how much I really am enjoying this book, and how much I appreciate all the work that Allan, Kozinn, and Adrian Sinclair clearly put into it. I'm going to really let this one sink in because there's so much in here, so much valuable information, so well told. It's a must for any Paul McCartney fan. His library, you've got to have it if you don't already have it. I cannot recommend it enough. And I'm so glad that they're committed to carrying through the story, and we'll have volume 2 and beyond. I was going to say I can't wait to get to those. I can wait because I'm going to be spending some time really delving into this and enjoying this. But it's very gratifying to know that once I've moved past this one, that there's more to come in the future. So I highly recommend it. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.